Hey everybody, Happy New Year! This is Overpass Live. My name's Eric. I make apps. So this is the live stream where we talk about, dude, I don't know what we're going to talk about. We may talk about nothing. It could be that nobody shows up. I haven't done a live stream in quite a while. I might just be talking to nobody, in which case there's a few things I want to get off my chest. If there's nobody out there and I'm just speaking alone, I want to admit to you guys that in the second grade, in Miss Audio's second grade class, I wet my pants when my friend Melvin made me laugh so hard I couldn't control myself. Feels good to get it out there. Now that there's nobody here. There's a couple of people watching. Hey, how's it going? Anyway, Happy New Year. That was dumb. That was a dad joke, and that's what I do. So this is a live stream where we just talk about whatever we want to talk about. We usually talk about apps, which is, kind of what we do. My name's Eric. I make apps. So it's been forever. I think the last live stream I did was on the 28th of November. So let's see who's here. MD is here. Hey, Eric, did you see the news that Google and Meta ads have less than 50% market share in the U.S. and they are losing to TikTok and streaming services ads? I haven't seen that, but I've heard that. And it seems to be kind of one of these things with the iOS 14 where they announced the Ask app not to track and all this stuff. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, they're the ones, they were too big to fail, and now they're kind of, with Facebook it's weird because they spent so much on Meta. Which, I've tried the Meta Quest and everything like that. I mean, I've tried the HTC Vive as well. I'm not a gamer, so it's like kind of one of these things where I'm not really into, but my kids have it, and it's really impressive. But it's a lot to go on when we were all locked down. I think if the lockdown lasted longer, it would be a bigger seller. But we're all kind of like, we need to get out and experience real life and everything. That with the whole privacy concerns and everything like that, it's like it's affecting us as people who sell advertising space and everything like that, obviously, but it's the revenue is really falling. It's like the grounds are shifting, and I think it's pretty interesting. The Google Cash printing machine is under attack from friends. What do you think? And also, Google is panicking over ChatGPT stealing business from its search engine. That's a weird one because for me, I've tried ChatGPT and asked a few different questions and stuff on that, which it's so cool. It is so cool, to get it to do it. Like I was at a Christmas party last month and somebody asked to do a poem based on a story that I told, and it did, and it was like really cool. But I always think, I'm kind of, I don't like if I just ask a question, if I ask any question and I got like an answer from somebody, I kind of want to see what the source of that was, and which, but I mean, it's a lot easier asking ChatGPT than it is ask Google. So no, that's really cool. I mean, it's, I mean, is this the year that we're going to see the big guys tumble? I mean, and who's going to take the place? That's the whole thing. There was for a while there, I thought like Rumble was going to like really take over from YouTube, and it might. In fact, that was one of the things I thought about this year, was whether or not I should start putting videos on Rumble or some of the other services, and not just YouTube, just because of the way YouTube is going and everything like that. I mean, it's not like ad revenue is a big thing for me not on YouTube anyway. So it's I'm wondering whether or not that's all gonna just dry up a little bit. I mean, it's interesting to see, isn't it? I mean, we're living in interesting times. Of course, I'm 50. I was here for the rotary phone. Let's see. Kevin says, "Good afternoon from Lakeland, Florida." Hey, Kevin, how's it going? Fist 007 is here. How's it going? Fist 007, the spokesman for everything Microsoft. I'm just going to say this just to get them a bit riled up. I don't like Microsoft that much. Huh? God, I'm just kidding. Let's see. Dwayne Smith says, no, I'm listening. Thanks, Dwayne. Thanks, Dwayne. I appreciate it. Fist 007. Fist from Montreal. I didn't know you were from Montreal. Why is this not working? Click. There we go. Fist 007 from Montreal. Cool. Where's everybody else from, by the way? Let's see. I heard it all. Let's see. Dwayne says, how much you make from apps in 2022, if you don't mind. This is one of the problems is I need to like update my records. I think I have my daily revenue was done all the way up until October. Yeah, I totally, you know what? I totally forgot that I do that every year, where I do my revenue report. So I'm gonna have to go through and do that myself. I did have a member of my team. That was one of the big things that happened in the last few months. Was just I started realizing that some of the projects that I've been working on, the payments are coming in too slow on them, and I had to like cut my team. Basically, just cut my team completely. After years of having a team, now I'm all by myself again, and so I need to go through and do some of that. I've been, trying to handle some of the social media posts and the blog posts and stuff like that, and just try to slim down. I mean, I know we talk about the recession coming, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm a bit shy of that too. So I'm trying to do that. So I need to bring that revenue report back up to date so I can do that. Thanks for reminding me, Dwayne. But I can show you like the revenue up until October, but it's like really the December stuff, because that was when like even then I kind of taken my eye off the ball like in the last couple months, and that's really when that whole Target SDK stuff for Google and everything came through. So I will put that together, Dwayne. Let's see. The info broker says, "Hi Eric. If for app development and coding, do you think Mac is better or Windows? I've always used Windows, so I'm not sure about switching to Mac." I say I've always thought that the Mac was better for app development. Only again, I'm only because to do iPhone development. So so that's why I use a Mac. That's the reason I switched to a Mac. And I tell you what, when InfoBroker, when I switched to a Mac back in 2013, I think in 2014, I remember getting a Mac thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to compile some of these apps myself. I can't keep waiting for the developers in India to do it, and they just they just had like loads of issues. I'm like, I could compile this stuff myself, and then eventually I started doing development myself. But when that nice aluminum MacBook Pro was delivered, and it was so sleek, it was so nice, I opened it up, and after using it for just a half an hour, I thought, this sucks. I hate this thing. I hated the Mac when I got it. I was like, the whole control command switch around thing. I'm a professional software developer, and copy paste is one of the things, the shortcut keys is my thing, right? So then that whole switching the command and control around, so I'm used to it now, but whenever I go back to use Windows, it's kind of like a hassle. But that just seemed petty, that it wasn't a setting that I could just switch back to the Windows way of doing it. So I nearly sent it back. And a lot of other things, there's a lot of things, for years. Oh, and thanks everybody who's liked and everything, by the way. So for years, I've heard people say, the thing about the Mac, it just works. You don't have to mess around with drivers or BIOS or anything like that. It just works, right? Which is true until it doesn't. It almost seemed like it was, when all this stuff about them wanting to make a Mac an appliance as opposed to a computer. Then it kind of is, but there's certain things where you want to be able to have more features. If you ever if you look at control panel on Windows versus system preferences on a Mac, you're like, there's not all that much that you can adjust on a Mac. I mean, there are command line things you can put in there and everything like that, but then if you could go command line, you might as well go Linux. So there's a lot I didn't like about it, but now I'm used to it. Now I kind of, there's certain things like recording my iPhone or recording my phone screen is one of the things where I just launch QuickTime. I could plug it in. I could just record it. I could do a demo for a client or something like that. It's a lot easier. On Windows, I always had to use Reflector and all this kind of stuff to try to film my screen and all this stuff. I don't know if it's easier now, but like a few years ago, I found it a lot more difficult. I also like using the terminal. Little stuff like being able to paste something into the terminal versus having to, not being able to paste it into the command window. I think that was it. I think it was like copy and paste from that was always kind of a hassle. So, but it's because it's more like the Linux, Unix type stuff. But there are times where I'm doing development. I'm thinking I really would rather just have a Windows machine. What I would like to be able to do is just to be able to upgrade the memory. I guess I could upgrade the memory, but just be able to. upgrade the components, all that kind of stuff. You know, I was big on getting a computer that was getting a nice beefy computer that I could upgrade the components if I wanted to. If I wanted to replace a hard drive with an SSD, you know, I did. I think with Windows, I think you have more control over your hardware. But of course, then you got the bit where, you know, for some reason something stops working. So I think, you know, that's, I'm just talking all over the place. I think, like, if I was going to give, like, my grandmother a computer, it would probably be a Mac, because it would be like, you know, just, you know, there's nothing that can mess up with it. But if I, you know, but like for me as a technical person, and my kids, they were constantly, you know, buying new motherboards, buying new video cards, buying new components and everything like that. And that's what I was, you know, doing. But in terms of app development, only because the iOS development. If you're not going to do iOS, then I would stick with Windows. Yusuf, hey, how's it going? My brother, how's it going? How can I reveal the words that have copyright on Google Play? And how can I make them unprotected? Thank you. The words that have copyright on Google Play. I think most of the time copyright has to do with, you know, just using names of TV shows and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of things. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by this. I think a lot of times, I think in apps, you can't say like it's just like another app, because that's their copy. You're basically using their copyright. Or you can't say it's a. Back in when I started, all the apps were like Walking Dead Quiz, and they were basically using these big brand names to try to promote their own applications, and they really clamped down on a lot of that stuff. But I think as long as you don't use anything that's like that's somebody else's property, I think you probably should be okay. One App 2 says, in your opinion, still good about it? Is your opinion still good about Flutter? Yeah, it is. I think it's you know, it's always growing. The two technologies that I use at the moment are Flutter and Xamarin, the two cross-platform frameworks. I use Xamarin mainly because it's C#, and that's what the you know, a contract I'm working on, they're using that, and then I kind of just got so used to using that I just do it. I use Flutter for a few client projects. My big issue I have at the moment is some of the breaking changes when they're upgrading Flutter. I think that's something that like going from Flutter 1 to Flutter 2, just using the Flutterfire libraries, it's just like I got a bunch of stuff that's just breaking. So I'm in this weird situation where I'm setting I'm rolling back on my computer. I'm rolling back the platform version of Flutter to an earlier version of Flutter, just so I can compile and release like some few minor changes, because otherwise I'm about to go through all this code and update the Flutterfire libraries in terms of how I'm accessing the data and everything like that, which is a bigger project. That's something that really bugged me. I hate when you get these breaking changes between versions, because I think everything should fall back a little bit easier than it actually does, and that's one of my big problems with Flutter. But I still do like it. Rendezvous says, would it be a wise decision for a junior Android developer to get an iOS app development or sharpen Android skills? I think you should do both. I think your Android skills should always be, you know, it's not like you're by learning iOS app development, you're going to see some of the similarities within the two of them. You might even learn a few different things, right? I was going to do a video about this, but years ago I read this book about, I can't remember what it was called. I think that's why I haven't done it. I need to look it up. It was like 20 years ago. I was in the library and I picked up this book on juggling. It was like in the business section, but it was about juggling, and about learning new things. And it talked about how, you know, if you're learning to juggle 3 balls, rather than just do that to an expert, try to juggle 4 balls, because you're going to suck at it. But by juggling 4 balls, you get better at the 3 balls. Just, you know, whatever. If you've ever run a marathon, like I was marathon training one year, and I did the half marathon every year. And my half marathon, I did, you know, I'm not fast by any means, but I could finish it. And the year I did the marathon, I was like doing my training. I was on my Sunday runs were like 22 miles. It took forever. And so I did the half marathon like a couple months before the marathon, the Reading half marathon. And my time was excellent, right? Because I was training for something that was harder. I was pushing past my levels. So we can say, okay, you become an expert at Android and then move on to the next thing, or you can continue. You start learning iOS development, but still do Android development. I mean, it's not like you drop one. I mean, I'd be surprised if 100% of your focus goes to one. The way you're asking it is like you're going to work on an Android project and then you're going to go here and work on an iOS project, when the reality is you're probably going to work on an Android project and then convert it over to iOS. So there's a lot of things, you know, especially going, you know, back in the day when everything was Objective-C, it was like just, it was painful. But now because you got Swift, it's a lot easier to take that stuff across, and you're going to be looking at, you know, the similarities between the two languages, how they're different, and your Android skills will probably just get better anyway. That's my opinion. Some of you guys might disagree with that. So, and Rendezvous says, love the stream. I'm so glad you guys are here. Like, I seriously didn't think anyone was going to show up. Let's see. Crypto says, Mac is way better when you're working only on your laptop without external monitors. Yeah, see, that a couple years ago, I got this iMac and I loaded it up with, I got the iMac right before they introduced all those stupid colors and stuff, made it look like I don't know, like they belong in a child's nursery. Actually, I'm glad I got the one I got. I was gonna say I got it right before the new ones came out, but no, I'm kind of glad because I hate the way those new colorful ones look. Yeah, look at them; they're in different colors. Wow, how innovative! So yeah, I think I got this beefy one, and so I've got external monitors, and I do like working in this environment. Certain things I don't like about the Mac. So if you use like a Magic Mouse, if you use a Magic Mouse, it's a rechargeable battery, the Magic Mouse 2 rather, and there's the USB charging port right there. So every so often I'll be in the middle of a work day and my mouse just dies, right? And in order for me to charge it, I have to turn it upside down and plug the USB into it and then go get a sandwich or something. And of course it's not going to fully charge. You just got to go maybe 20, 30 minutes so that I can at least work the rest of the day, and I got to remember to plug it in. It's just the stupidest design. Why would you put the charging port on the bottom? Little stuff like that. And this is from Apple, the design company, whatever. Fistolo says, look, Eric, with all due respect, Windows is far better than Mac. Just kidding. It's been so long since. So I did a Windows application just this last year, and I did it with a Windows, basically a Windows virtual machine on Parallels on my Mac, it wasn't. There were certain things that I miss about it. I think I left Windows right when I just upgraded my Windows 7 to Windows 8. And I hated Windows 8. I thought Windows 8 was the stupidest thing. I hope whoever that was who made that decision to say, let's make everything look like the Windows Mobile or whatever, I hope that person was fired, right? Because it seems like Windows 10 was a big, huge improvement over Windows 8. And when I go use it, because, Windows 7 was pretty good. But it's been a while since I used it. Crypto Wolf says, Firebase libraries suck. It's Firebase, not Flutter. That is true. That is true. Flutter had only one big change, which is null safety. Yes, that's true. And I ditched Firebase a long time ago. I've been thinking about that. So I've got a few applications in Firebase, and it is because of that upgrade when I started thinking, I like the fact that it's a cloud service. I don't have to worry about scalability or anything like that. But I do think there's times where I just want to query the stupid thing. I just want to, I'm thinking about just going back to SQL or either MySQL or SQL. Yeah, probably MySQL rather than SQL Server. But so Crypto Wolf, what are we going with? Did you leave Firebase for another NoSQL alternative? And because I know there's I keep seeing YouTube videos about a Firebase alternative out there, and I can't remember what it's called. I Spy Tech. Hi, Eric. Hello, Eric. Hello, Hi Spy Tech. Hey, Chris Paula's here. Hey, Chris. I'm late, but glad to be here. Happy New Year's Eve, Eric. Happy New Year's Eve, Chris. Or Happy New Year's, not Eve. That's too late. Yeah, so I've got my list of New Year's resolutions. Where are they? They're in my back pocket. I won't show them to you because some of them are pretty, But I'm big on New Year's resolutions. So one of them is dry January. So I'm, going strong, through dry January. And usually I don't drink that much, but the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, I drink a bit, but like the last 6 months, I was like, no, I'm doing dry January. So I'm going strong on that. We had one comment on the channel this year about somebody said their New Year's resolution was to do no alcohol in 2007 and made it all the way to 2023. And I've been thinking about that ever since I read that comment, thinking, maybe, because it's something that, I don't miss. It's just I miss going out, really, is what it is. But Happy New Year. Let's see. Angelina, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Angelina. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming. Rendezvous, thank you for the expert advice. Okay, there's one thing, Rendezvous, you should know, and I've said this many times in the past. I ain't no expert. I'm always learning. We're always learning. That's what, we're all here for. So, like, I may say something, and as somebody, watch the comments, because somebody may say, Eric, actually, I think you're wrong. But all I can do is give you my experience and my opinion. But, once I become, I think it's, I think it's, what I think it is I think I had so many CVs and app development companies contact me saying, we're an expert app development company. And I'm like, I'll bet. Like, I don't know. I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing software a long time, and I've never met anybody who's an expert, who knows everything. There's always, everybody knows, like, anybody who claims to be an expert is usually the kind of person you don't want to work with. And the people who, the smartest people are the ones who know that, okay, I'm good in this area, I'm not good in this area. And they always know how much they have to learn. And they always know that it's always, nice thing, well, not the nice thing. The thing about technology is always churning, right? Apps is always churning. Like we just talked about earlier about the ad revenue is completely changing. And everything's changing. And videos that I put out in 2014 are going to be no longer relevant and all this kind of stuff. But I appreciate it. Thanks, Rendezvous. Crypto will say, yeah, the Apple mouse is probably the worst mouse overall. I know it really bugs me because there's like, I think I bought a trackpad years ago. I don't know why. I thought, I'll just use a trackpad, and then I realized, when you do so I use my MacBook Air. I try to just use the trackpad, and then I realized I'm gonna, my fingers are just, I have to stop and do this, and I'm just like, so I prefer to use a mouse. And it really bugs me when I, just in the middle of the day, I was like, oh yeah, like I can't even, like, somebody will send me like a Slack message, I can't even respond to it because I can put the mouse over there. Like I have no other options on a desktop. On a laptop, yeah, it's fine because you just go to the trackpad. But Chanel, Happy New Year, Happy New Year to you too. Let's see, Crypto Wolf says, I'm still using a PaaS product for my private apps. What is PaaS? Is it platform as a service? Outside my day work. I found AltoJic 1 month ago, and it's so good. They have abstractions around your database and anything. Yeah, but I think one of those things, I'm a bit wary about using something that I've never heard of, just because of, like, we're talking about support for Firebase libraries and stuff like that, but do they have support for, like, say if I was using like Xamarin, for example, do they have support for that, or is it just supporting the main platforms? Let's see, Liam's here. Liam, whose avatar is not the default, somebody pointed out. Liam, hi Eric and everyone else. Hey, how's it going, Liam? You should give Superbase a look. That's the one I'd heard about. It's like Firebase, but with SQL. Oh, really? Did they have like? See. What I really liked about Firebase is the authentication, having authentication push, because you have to use Firebase cloud messaging for push notifications anyway. If you're going to do any kind of push notifications, you might as well use Firebase for everything, I thought. But then I'm like, is this what I've been doing? I have an application where I started writing triggers in the Firestore, like how you do Firestore triggers, which will actually insert an update into a SQL database so that I can use the SQL database for reporting. So I've got two databases. So like I got the main database, which is in Firebase, so it's real time and everything, or Firestore rather, it's real time and everything like that. And I've got the SQL database, which is like just external, so I could just, when I get asked a question, I can at least query it. And that's so dumb that I've done that. I mean, I've only done it because I got tired of. I'm using an app called Firefoo, which I pay like $10 a month or something for, so that at least I could query the Firestore database. But yeah, I would. Yeah, I sometimes I miss SQL. I miss you, SQL. Come back to me, SQL. Let's see. Fistobo says, hi. Hell yeah! I'm at a Windows 8 laptop. The first thing I did was downgrade to Windows 7. Yeah, I mean, I was one of those because I was on the MSDN developer license or whatever. So as soon as Windows 8 came out, like people say, no, you wait for Service Pack 1 and you do it. Not me, boy. No, I just go straight in. I go, caution to the wind. I updated my laptop as soon as it came out. I'm playing around with Windows 8 and I just thought that was, I remember thinking, like I'd worked in, like years earlier, I'd worked in an investment bank and we had this new project manager come in, the development team. We had 2 different projects. It was an HR, we worked in the HR department doing apps for HR. So we had an appraisal system, we had a bonus system, right? And there were 2 different systems written in different technologies, everything, and they did different things. And the first thing they said was, we need to make this one look like this one. And we're like, because it has to be consistent, right? That's it. If you want to be a project manager, you just have to learn the word consistency. What we need to do is make these interfaces consistent. That's what we need to do. And you're like, and we're trying to say, well, it's actually, they're completely different things. They're completely different. They're used by completely different departments. So no, that's what we need to do. So we spent months making one of them look like the other one. And a lot of stuff didn't make sense. And of course, he would say stuff like, I want to gray this button out. I said, well, we can just hide the button altogether. No, gray it out. And you see how these buttons are different sizes? They should all be the same size. Well, it's called Fitts law. It's like, this button is one when we want them to press. This, like start and cancel. You don't want cancel to be as big as start because, unless, it depends on the form. But like there's certain times you put things away and he comes and goes, no, they should be consistent. So it was just. So I thought with Windows 8, going back to the story, with Windows 8, this is exactly what I thought. I thought somebody came in and said, we should make the desktop look like the mobile. And I thought, man, I just, the thing I appreciate most, Fistoval says, the thing I appreciate most about the Microsoft, regardless of the ease of the use of the technology, is the backward compatibility. Man, they still support DOS programs on Windows 11. No, that's true. They do. They are better at we talked about Flutter not supporting Flutter breaking changes going forward. That really bugs me. And even iOS, like they don't, they won't support older iPhone versions. Everything's moving so fast. I think was it iOS 11 is the minimum version, I think, at the moment that they'll allow or something like that. I might be wrong about that. That might just be a Xamarin constraint, but yeah. That's true. I mean, that was the weird thing about Microsoft, because I was like, at the time when I had the Windows 8, as I was working on the SharePoint project, and I know every time I talk about SharePoint, I retch a little bit because I hate SharePoint. I hated SharePoint. I hated being a SharePoint developer. I hated everything about it, and eventually, that was a thing where I was working at this contract or this for this consultancy, and they decided we're going to go full on SharePoint. And as a developer, I was the only one working on this SharePoint project. And it was slow, and it was bulky, and it was like using web forms. At the same time, at Microsoft, they were coming out with with Razor and the MVC framework, and then Razor, and then all this stuff. And they were doing these really cutting edge, innovative stuff, moving away from ASP.NET web forms and moving into this really cool stuff that was like keeping up with HTML5 and everything at the time. Yet SharePoint was still way back in the ages. And somebody sent me a picture they found online of the SharePoint development team, and they were all middle-aged white guys wearing khakis and light blue button-up shirts. And I thought, that's what I'm becoming. And I was turning 40 at that. That was like 10 years ago. I was turning 40, and I was just feeling old. And I was like working on SharePoint, and I'm like, oh my God. I was just like, anyway. Sorry. A little bit of a rant. Don't get me started talking about the thought of a trackpad. Now I get, now I won't get it. I thought of getting a trackpad. I think I got like a trackpad yeah, and I kept it external, and it was just like at the time I was using a MacBook Pro, I wasn't even using the desktop. So like I had a trackpad, and I had the trackpad on the MacBook, and it was just one of the things I did like about the MacBook, because I'd use laptops for Windows back then. I think this is not so much the case anymore. Was it was a nice big trackpad, right? And I think the gestures worked a lot better on that than they did on Windows. But it's been a while since I used one. Fistable says Eric is an expert on not being an expert. That's right. Nobody's not an expert more than I'm not an expert. Angelina says, have you tried Flurry Analytics? Yeah, ages ago. Like, we're talking 2013. But yeah, I didn't even know they still existed. But I think that's it. I think it was Flurry, I think it was Flurry, because I think they had like really good Corona SDK libraries. Unless it was something that sounded a lot like Flurry. I'm pretty sure that was it. Like I said, Liam says Superbase does auth, file storage, functions, etc. Pretty much everything Fire does. Ooh, I might look into that. That actually sounds pretty good. Let's see. Yeah, that looks good. Crypto Wolf says, I switched from Firebase to Superbase first. My issue is that you can't really prevent direct database access. It's just with some hacks and functions ran with specific user rights. In Altogether Logic, you can create a key and restrict it. So in Altogic, you can create a key and restrict access with one click to specific features like database, direct access, and route everything via functions. Okay, yeah, that's a big one. I think that's one of the things I did like about Firebase was just having those, being able to write those Jasmine tests. I think there's like a really good Firebase or Firestore security / unit testing video out there by the Firebase team, which talks about actually writing unit tests to be able to set up a user, grant the the access keys, custom claims, and then actually be able to like not update that, and that was one thing. Just because I remember I keep thinking like, surely you could just look at the JavaScript or watch the packets go through and just be able to get through it, but it adds all that the HTTP headers and everything on there for you. Let's see. That dual database setup was what I was considering when I was looking at base. Really, so like, and it's like the dumbest thing. It was just kind of this thing where I just wanted to like, it was a project. Actually, it was a project I set for myself where I just wanted to have a leaderboard on it. Like I just had this app, and I want to have a leaderboard, and everything was in Firebase. So I'm thinking like I'm gonna have to like loop through everything, and do it. So in the end, what I did was I just wrote those triggers and everything. But then I'm kind of afraid that I'm never 100% sure that the database is in sync. So I don't know what Altogic is supporting. It supports Flutter and many other web frameworks. I didn't need more. Yeah. So I've been doing and they reacted to many of my feature requests, validated them, and implemented them pretty fast. They are pretty new. I might have a look at that because, I've been using because I did this one application I did. I was going to do it in Flutter, and I decided to do it in Xamarin, but then I had an admin site, so I thought, well, because I'm using C# libraries and models and everything already, I'm going to do it in Blazor. But there was no Blazor client-side Blazor libraries for Firebase at the time. So what I did was I had a JavaScript bridge so that I could just have using JS interrupt. I know I'm just showing out terms there, but some of you guys will know what that is. So that basically it takes a JavaScript and the Blazor so that you could actually call the Blazor from Firebase and vice versa using JavaScript interrupt. But I did everything that way, and it kind of is mostly working, but it's a pain in the ass whenever I add something onto it. Patrick Brown, Happy New Year, Eric. Thanks, Patrick. Happy New Year to you too. Which programming language you use to develop client web app project, i.e. PHP framework and JavaScript framework? Which frameworks have a high volume of jobs? So I prefer not to do web stuff unless I have to. So most of the web stuff that I do, like I will never do a client-facing website, or sorry, a public-facing website, but I will do admin sites. And usually what I'll do is I'll use Angular, and I'm not a big Angular fan. I'll use Angular. And then when you do the, was it transpiling it? Like, you know, when you run the Webpack thing against it, and then I'll upload it to Firebase storage again. So no, Firebase hosting. So that was another thing with the Firebase where I kind of decided, like for the last few projects, I'll do everything in Firebase so that I have one expense each month. And you know, there are certain things where I'm just like that one. With the one application I was talking about where I did everything in Firebase, and then I have to keep lowering Flutter to a previous version, is a pain in the ass. I mean, it really is. So yeah, I'm not a big PHP fan. I've used it in the past. I've definitely done a lot of WordPress stuff with PHP. I've done PHP back in the early days, and I think I've worked with so many development companies where they gave me like a terrible PHP developer that I just kind of like, I don't like the language. Now, having said that, I know there's a lot of like people use Laravel and a lot of really good frameworks built on top of PHP, and even Facebook was done in PHP, so it's can't be bad, but I'm just so I prefer to do everything without a whole lot of server code. The last few projects I've done has been just using Firebase and using cloud functions for anything that was complicated, but otherwise just using JavaScript libraries with those custom claims, so with the permissions and the security and everything on there, so that most everything is just updating the Firebase library or Firestore database. Is it open source or can you self-host it? Sounds interesting. I'll take a look. Interesting. I don't think so. The only downside is they're using open source components like MongoDB. So, okay, cool. Let's see. Chanel says, in my experience, Firebase and Google show different bug for same user. It's a pain for me. Oh, really? Oh, another thing I don't like about Firebase. There's another thing I don't like about Firebase is when I have my my Firebase functions, and I have to go into the logs, and the logs are just, it's like I just want to be able to export the logs. You might be able to do it. I hate the fact that the Firebase, this like what I was saying about the Mac earlier, the Firebase interface is simple. But whenever you have to do anything that's any bit complex, then it says, okay, all you have to do is go into the Google project behind it, go into the project dashboard, which is like, that's where the Google Cloud Platform, and you have to go into the project and enable different libraries or whatever, or do the GSUtil and all that stuff. I hate that stuff. I hate, it's like, it's like as soon as I go down that route, I'm like, I don't care. Like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't want to have to do command line stuff unless I absolutely have to. And then it's like, okay, all you have to do is export the JSON permissions key file, and then you run this JSUtil, and I was like, oh my God. So yeah, and yeah, I get that. Patrick says, I would also wish to know if bidding for jobs on freelancing sites, i.e. Upwork and Fiverr, has been successful for you. I've never done it. I mean, I know because I know that I've hired people from, I've never hired anybody from Fiverr. I think I did once. I think I did like some backlinking stuff, which I don't know if it even did any good. But I've hired people from Upwork. I've hired a lot of people from Upwork, and I know that when I'm looking at Upwork, I'm looking at everybody standing like side by side, right? I don't spend a whole lot of, and maybe just me as a user, but I don't go in and look at everybody's profile, right? So for me, like building a portfolio and trying to go a different way makes more sense. Like if I have a client come through, they'll come through on, they might see one of the videos, they might see, they might get to the website. I prefer them coming in that way because it's me being able to present, or me being able to present Overpass stuff and how they can actually help them, as opposed to like I'm standing was it? I'm trying to think. You know, in the movies where like it's in Southern California and there's a bunch of illegal aliens standing on a corner hoping to do day work. That's what it feels like to me. Like somebody pulls up a truck and says, "Okay, who wants to work on this website?" And we're going, me. I don't want to be that. I want to be them. They come to my establishment, they come to my website, they come through my stuff, and it's like trying to build that presence. Because I think when you go into those freelancing sites, you're basically they're either going to hire you based on price, which means your price needs to be low, or they're going to base it out on the fact that you have a really your skill set is a lot more rare, right? But so like lately when I go, thanks for the thumbs up, by the way, everybody. So that's just my thoughts on that. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's not. It's like when someone tells you they have their own e-commerce store and you're like, oh cool, like it's on eBay, and you're like, oh okay, whatever, or like back in the day I remember when people would say they're running their own business and it's like it's at the swap meet or the car boot sale or whatever, and you're like, yeah, but it's not like a business, is it? Like, there's something low value about that, like, and I don't like the idea of looking low value, so I've never done anything like that. Let me know if you guys disagree with that. That might seem a bit like superior, but it's like I just know, because that's my mentality when I go on Upwork. I'm not looking for the best guy. I'm looking for the guy that I could afford, who could do the best job, right? And when people look for me, I want them to be looking for the best guy. I Spy Tech says, what are your thoughts on ChatGPT? I think it's ChatGPT, especially on Android development. Does it pose skills deprived? I've seen a lot of people say that, like, write me a function that does this, and I'm not particularly worried about that, because I do think that a lot of what we do, and this is something I've thought not just because of AI, but I thought in general, like how much of what we do as developers is actually unique. Right, we access a database, we do stuff like, it's like we've always been to the point where we're taking components of stuff and putting them together, right? So if you were to say, write me a function that calculates, I don't know, the circumference of a circle or whatever, write me an algorithm that does this, right? And ChatGPT could probably give that to you, but like if you were to say, write me a Tinder clone, maybe it could, but like I think a lot of what we do is more big picture, right? You don't. It's a difference between knowing how to type and knowing how to tell a story. Knowing how to type is like the thing. You could either do it yourself or you could hire a typist. But telling the story is really what we should do. And as developers, we shouldn't be thinking of ourselves as being the typist, the one who could just basically, you tell me exactly what to do and I'll do it. But we should be the ones who are like, we able to take something and the subtleties of that and to be able to interpret it and to be able to go in the right direction. Although I've hired many developers in the past who were like very much like, tell me what to do next. What do I do this? And they would ask me a zillion questions. And I'm like, dude, like this is where we need to go to. And I need you to make some of these decisions on your own, because that's why I didn't write code to do this myself, or I didn't write code to do what you're doing. I need you to make these decisions as we go. But and Crypto Wolf says ChatGPT is amazing. I agree. Like I've been looking at the not ChatGPT, but a lot of the AI writers, and like if you go on a little secret, you guys, if you go on the Overpass website, some of those articles are pretty crap. But it's like, I'm like just using the like if you so on my blog I've been writing a lot more on my Wroolie.co.uk website, and just like and doing a lot more stuff there, just because I do like to write. But on the Overpass stuff, I've been like just using one of these AI writers. So it's kind of like I think that's going to change. I think the fact that anybody can do that now. I'm using one called Brainwork. I think I probably should have got an affiliate link for it, but it's there's the fact that anybody can use these AI content writers means that SEO is going to get a lot more weird, because you're not, and content writers, I think they should be worried. let's see, encryptable. So I think it's find a copy of function or algorithm. It's anyway about architecture and not about one function. Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's the architecture is being able to take everything. Like we don't, like, and even if you were to hire if you were to hire somebody to do an application for you, would you want them to use components or functions that have already been written and just put those together in the right way that do what you need to do, or would you insist that they write all those functions from scratch? And and you're like, no, you want one that they use something that's already an existing component, so that that it's already been tested and unit tested and all that kind of stuff. So that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. So it looks like that was the last question. Was it been 40? Yeah, nearly not quite an hour, but I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks everybody for showing up. Like I said, I didn't think anyone would show up today. I thought I'd be standing here by myself. Yeah. It's been fun. I'm looking forward to the new year. I'm looking forward to 2023. I think, I think last year I kind of went off the rails a little bit towards the end with a lot of things. And I'm looking, this year I feel really good and a lot more focused on stuff. And looking forward. I don't want to get some more videos out and just to do a bit more stuff, even though I'm not sure what this is going to be about because, dude, I talked about AdMob so much years ago. And although there's a lot of changes on the Google Play side. I keep thinking I'd like to do like a demo of the Google Play console just to go through all those different features and stuff like that. And Joe showed up just at the end. Hey, Joe. Mr. Streams. That's all right. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to finish this off. Hey, everybody, thanks for showing up. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll talk to you guys. Hey, let's do this again. Well, let's try to do it next week. I'll let you guys know. All right, have a good week. Talk to you guys later.